Welcome to Wealth and Wellness with Grace Nabasabla.
Hey, my people. Welcome back to Wealth and Wellness with Grace. Today, I have a question for you. Have you ever considered healthcare, becoming a nurse? This question was asked by somebody way in New York. I didn't know this gentleman, but over the weekend, he called me and he really wanted to find out my genuine advice and recommendations. And after careful consideration, I put together some pros, some cons, and what Grace would do if I was in his shoes. And you get to share some of this perspective on this video. So stay tuned to the very end to hear what I recommend. First, let's talk about the misconceptions, right? The myths that everybody thinks nursing is. That it's easy to get into, first of all, that you can easily get a lot of money. And how about that we are essential workers, right? Essential workers, meaning that they love us and they care for us because we are supposedly essential, which happened mainly during the pandemic. I will dispel these myths, y'all. Okay, so bear with me. Being on the bedside during so many times in the pandemic, I did not like how we ended up being treated. Sometimes we are not treated fairly. You see, we are pretty much the scapegoats. I'll start with, is it easy to get into? Not really. It took me a long time to become a nurse. And nursing is different for everyone. Some people can do associates, some people do bachelor's. I took the bachelor's route, which meant more years in school. And also being in a bachelor's program, do you know I was denied not once, but twice? Literally denied twice, but I persisted. I was so committed. I never give up on anything. When I set my mind to, I'm on for it. So I was so committed and I did. I persevered and I made it through. However, through all that, I had to make a lot of sacrifices. I had to put a lot of money, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of family sacrifices, you see, and also commuting. So I literally had to commute two hours every day, back and forth. So I can say it was one of the toughest things I had to do in my life. So when people say it's easy, I don't know about you, but for me, it was one of the hardest things I had to do. And that's just the minimal I can mention, because when you get into the program, it is rigorous. It was so tough. Some of the professors were not the kindest. And they will tell you, literally, on the very first day of class, this professor saying, half of you will make it through this program. Literally? Half? So I'm looking at my colleagues like, not all of us are going to make it. And come to find out, it's true. Half of us graduated. And then even through the ones who graduated, not everybody passed the NCLEX. That's the nursing licensure exam. So it's so unfortunate that all this took place. And also, it doesn't forget the fact that if you don't graduate, that your student loans just stop existing. You're still on the hook for whatever student loans and also the time you put in. So you feel like you wasted a lot of time if you don't make it through. I'm grateful for the fact that I was able to make it through, because I feel terrible for everybody who was not able to. So for those who think it's easy, you might have to reconsider. Other things might be easier than nursing, or even other programs. Maybe LPN program or associate degree program might be easier than the BSN. The other thing about the glamour of nursing, so I see a lot of nurses on Instagram, they're going places, they're doing all these amazing things, taking all these trips, right? Because they feel like they're getting the check and they can do that. It's not always what it seems. I can say for right now, not everybody is bringing in the same amount of money that we were bringing in 2 years ago, because it was a pandemic. So we had a lot of nurses, contracts were paying so much, but right now literally traveling is not even advised. Because when you look at that duplication of expenses, you're not making anything. So why travel? You better stop traveling because it has to make sense. And I have to make sure that duplicating expenses means that whatever I'm bringing in is able to take care of me when I'm traveling and also take care of the expenses I'm leaving at home. So the money part right now is being challenged. And also, it also talks about the stability part because it's not as stable as we thought it was. So many contracts get canceled left and right. And not just the contracts, even staff nurses. In New Orleans, if you haven't read this article, 700 nurses were let go. 700. Do you hear me? So just imagine if you planned your life to stay at this particular facility and through an email, they tell you that you're let go. Your life is turned upside down. So you always have to think about how can you plan your life ahead instead of just focusing on your job. And the other thing is the cons. Let me talk about some cons about nursing. A lot of stress. You're literally working in stressful environment the whole day. You see, anything can happen. And it also depends on what area you're working at. And I was mainly working in critical environments, which I came to find out that that was not the best environment for me because I'm very critical and I like to make sure everything is done right. So everything was priority. The problem with that also puts strain on your body. And before you know it, that's a sickness because you're not releasing that stress in a healthy way. So I had to make sure that I would go home and also try to vent. If I don't vent, I'll make sure I get enough rest. I'll take care of myself because you have to release that. Because if you don't release all that stress, that causes burnout. And the other thing are the injuries. More often than not, we work with limited resources. I can never tell you any time I worked and we had all the resources we needed. It was always something lacking. You're always working with less, which is a problem. Because the more you work with less, you're overworking yourself. You see? And that's a problem. And that's why they can never maintain enough nurses at the bedside. We have to get enough resources. And this includes people, this includes the equipment, this includes everything that we need to work with. So for that particular gentleman, I mentioned all these things to him. And for him, he's actually an engineer, planning to become an engineer in less than a year. So I asked him, what is your passion? Because my passion, I like to help people. So that can be anything, helping people, because that's who I am. And so being a nurse was easier for me because it comes with helping people. And also doing real estate now, I'm able to help people. So I asked him genuinely, do you consider yourself wanting to help people, or is it just about the money? And not just that, how do you tolerate stress? Because I mentioned all the stressful environment and stressful people. Yes. So how do you tolerate that? And the other thing was the instability. So with the job, right? With the income, are you able to not have the stability? Because as an engineer, I know a lot of engineers who are more stable in their field. And he had to think about all that. And the other thing also we don't talk about often are our personal challenges. Working 12 hours can be stressful on your body. It ruins relationships. A lot of people cannot maintain relationships because you're working at different times of days and nights. And by the time you get home, you're exhausted. You're really, it's like you're done. And that affects your relationships. So we have to make sure that we consider all that when we consider becoming nurses or even getting to the healthcare profession. Another thing which I haven't mentioned are the injuries that you might be able to get on the job. Statistics have shown that many nurses and healthcare workers end up with low back and also knee injuries. This is so unfortunate, but the pulling up and always on the run mentality, guess what? That causes injuries on our bodies. So we have to continue being effective, you see? Make sure we exercise. Make sure we use our muscles the right way, you see, to prevent those injuries. And also to stretch before we go to work, because all that affects us. And hopefully, when you hear the pros and the cons and everything that somebody might have to consider before they become a healthcare worker, I hope you make the right decision that fits your needs, because it's not going to be easy. That's one thing I want to tell you. It's not going to be easy. And if you find it easy, great, you see, but go in it knowing that it's not always going to be what it seemed. And it might be easy for you, but it wasn't for me. And the other thing, make sure that you always cover yourself. You see? So having a plan B is a way you can cover yourself. So many nurses can't afford to even take off work because they depend on that paycheck. So having a plan B, where can you invest your money? Making sure that your money is actually making more money for you. Is your money just in the 401k? There's a nurse from California. She called me not too long ago, and she mentioned that all her money has been in the 401k, and she's almost about to retire, but the 401k stocks has dropped. So she's really stuck. So she has to work for a few more years to make sure that her 401k goes to where it's supposed to be before she can retire. So make sure that you have other resources that you can utilize to make more money. You see, you work a PRN job, so you're never stuck on just one thing. It can work, but you have to make it work. So now let's talk about the pros of nursing, because everything has its pros and cons. I love the fact that we get to help a diverse range of individuals, especially when they're most vulnerable. I get a lot of job satisfaction, you see, and fulfillment knowing that I'm making an impact, especially when somebody's in need. So that's one of the biggest things I take out of nursing, because you can never replace that feeling. Okay, money can't replace that feeling. Knowing that I did the right thing when somebody needed me, I was there. I can give a good example when one of the patients at hospice was dying, and I literally was at the bedside holding her hand. Just the look in her face, just knowing that I'm doing the right thing being here, the family was not able to. In fact, it made me cry, brought tears to my eyes, knowing that, you know what, I was here. I was here for her when she needed me the most. She did not die alone. Because nobody should be there by themselves, especially when they need you the most. And when I talked to their daughter the next day, she asked, was she alone when she died? And just hearing that I was there holding her hand was everything for her. She was so grateful, you see? So that's a big thing. A big thing. I'm still tearing over that. Just knowing that I was really there for her. You see, because you can never replace that feeling. Never. And also getting to help yourself, because we can always think about helping other people, but how are you helping yourself? So I can say for me as a nurse, during COVID, I literally self-treated myself. I didn't go to the hospital to be treated for COVID. I knew everything we were doing at the hospital. So I did the same thing for me. So being able to apply that information that you're learning and utilizing at the hospital to help yourself and your family members is powerful. Other thing is how you get to learn tremendous skills. This can be critical skills, you see. So you're always thinking critically about each and everything. Patience, communication, time management, organization. I can't name them all, but I've learned so many skills, you see, that I can transfer to other areas of my personal life as well as my other businesses. So I attribute all those skills to nursing, because without nursing, I probably would have been like, oh, how do you do this? How do you do that? But now it comes easy. So when I always think about safety, it's because of that's the skill I'm learning as a nurse. But I'm always thinking about and prioritizing safety. So when I'm talking to clients as an agent, talking to clients as a router, and also as a property manager, I'm always thinking about safety first, because those skills are important throughout your lifetime. Another thing we have to consider is a lot of job opportunities. Before I even graduated, I literally had a job, you see, as a new grad. So that's important. Not a lot of professions have that, but we already had jobs, most of us at least. And not just that, most jobs came with bonuses, you see, and I was able to invest my first bonus into a property. So being smart to actually invest that money also can help you, because the job opportunities are there. You can also work more than one job if you choose to. You see, they're always promoting and advertising for nurses out there. I always get on a daily basis. I'm always going phone calls, emails, texts. Can you work? Can you come work? These are opportunities here and there. So it's up to you what you want to do. The other thing is the flexibility of the 12-hour shifts. And also, that also brings your week into a 3-day work week. I love the 3-day work week, because then on the other end, when I'm not at work, I'm doing other things, spending time with my family, building my business or businesses, doing other things, whereby I'm not on the job the whole week. Because most jobs, you have to be there Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. No. Here, we normally work, especially most nurses, they normally work 12s. You get to customize your schedule the way you want. You see, if they have block scheduling, I always love block scheduling. I literally would work 6 days and I'm off for like 7 days. I don't have to be at the hospital. You see, whereby I limit the time I'm there. And then when I'm there, I choose strategically the times I'm there, because it also comes with a bonus when you work nights. So I always work weekends and nights because it always came with a bonus. When I was a weekend only worker, which was a wow position, guess what? I worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which meant Friday nights, I got a bonus. And weekends, I got a bonus, whereby I ended up getting $10 per hour extra on top of how much I was making. You see, every day. So every hour, every week, every month, that literally increased my pay substantially. So being able to open yourself up to that schedule, it can be challenging, you see, because that's every weekend, but it works. And you can save some of that money into something else, which also is another point of the opportunities and increase in the pay. Because when I started as a nurse, I literally was a CNA making $20,000 a year for 3 years. 20,000. As a nurse, I started off at 60. You see, 60 was the minimum the first year. Since then, I've never made anything less than 70. You see? And this is even if I don't work full time as a nurse. So it's a big difference. Making sure that this person, you see CNA, you're making 20, and the other person, I'm not even doing that much different from you, but I'm making a little more, you see, or much more, because that tripled my income literally overnight. So make sure that this is really what you want, because the pay can be a little enticing, of course, but it's really what I wanted to do because I wanted to serve. Last but not least, nursing comes with a lot of competitive compensation. So like the pay, another thing to think about is nursing comes with a lot of career advancements, you see? So a lot of opportunities, you see, you can easily become a manager, that increasing in the pay. Not just that. Think about if you want to advance to go back to school, guess what? Most facilities will compensate you, at least give you some money towards your education to advance. So that's a big thing. Most times you also get benefits. You say 401k, you get health benefits. But of course, that also comes out of your paycheck. But at least they're presenting you those opportunities. So we have to think about it like that, because we're getting all these opportunities and most places don't have that, which is really great. So think about all the benefits and perks that you can get from it, because that's really important, because not a lot of professions have that. So thank you again for watching. I hope you learned a thing or two about what you should consider nursing. And those of us who might think differently about nursing, I understand. But really the benefits outweigh the cons. And also nursing is one of the biggest and well-respected professions. So think about that carefully and mention in the comments below what you think about nursing, because I love my profession as a nurse. I love to help people and how this can impact lives. And until next time, hope you stay blessed. Thank you.